The Morrill and Hatch Acts.
Settlers first moved west, they faced many challenges.
They faced drought. They faced outlaws. They faced floods. They faced Native American attacks. Another challenge was what to live in, since there weren't very many trees, so eventually they settled on living in soddies. A soddy was a small home made of prairie turf. It was warm in the winter and cool in the summer. They weren't very efficient though because of leaks and wild animals getting in. Women faced difficulties on the plains because they were often left alone. They had to do men's work like shearing sheep, plowing, and doctoring. Living on the prairie was challenging, both establishing a home and then trying to farm the land. Machines like the steel plow and the reaping machine helped them overcome these difficulties. In 1857, John Turner led a movement that asked for the creation of colleges for farmers to try to make life easier. Finally, the Illinois legislature helped him come up with a bill for each state to fund these schools. He wanted these schools to be available to everyone, no matter what their social class. A congressman named Justin Smith Morrill introduced this bill. His bill was a little different from Turner's. At first, the bill was vetoed by the president. A veto is the president's right to reject a proposal. When Congress met on December 2, 1861, they decided to donate lands to the states and territories. These lands were to be used for colleges to help people become farmers and ranchers. The states were each given 30,000 acres for each senator and representative, unlike Turner's plan, which gave an equal amount of land to each state. They also changed it so that schools would teach military tactics as well. The first grant was passed in 1862 and signed by Abraham Lincoln. The money they made from the land they sold would fund the schools. When these grants were first passed, blacks were not allowed to go to these schools, but after the Second Morrill Act was passed in 1890, they were finally allowed in. The grant passed in 1890 gave money instead of land. In 1994, colleges for Native Americans were also given money. In all, over 17 million acres were sold and over $7 million were made. This act changed the way education was in America. Anyone could go to these schools, and it taught things that were more useful to most Americans. This was one of the first educational systems supported by the government. The Hatch Act was signed in 1887 and revised in 1955. It created many agricultural experiment stations. An agricultural experiment station is a place where researchers solve problems to improve things in the food industry. These researchers worked with farmers, ranchers, and other people in the food industry. The centers made the nation become one of the best food suppliers in the world. Research centers helped create new methods of farming that fit each area of America's geography. The Morrill and Hatch Acts helped farmers everywhere. They gave them land, taught regular people how to farm, and found new ways of farming that benefited people from all over the country.